Got this running me, curly yellow dancing on me. Said she smelled a grin on me, and she straight from California. Freaky, yeah, she wanna be. Tell me she like.
Yo, what is really good? So I'm on my 3DS right now. I am on Twilight Menu Plus Plus, VNDS, and we are going to be reading some visual novels. So I'm gonna be real. I don't know which ones are compatible, which ones I can finish, yada yada. It's really just the luck of the draw, I guess you could say. So we are going to be trying out Sekien no Inganock? Sekien no Inganock. Yeah, that's what I'll call it. Sekien no Inganock. Um, and yeah, I mean, well, let's see if it works. First of all, I can't believe I didn't even test it yet. I should do that. But yeah, I mainly so why I'm mainly recording this is I want to have like an archive of like videos for myself, right? Um, because like visual novels are like, in my experience, visual novels have been like the most like memorable, like nostalgic games I've played. I don't know what it is about visual novels, but they kind of hit that note with me. So it'd be nice to kind of have my experience, documented, right? At least I think so. Um, no visuals. That's interesting. Sekien no Inganock. Inganock. Okay. Oh my god. Whatever. Sekien. Just call it Sekien. Game Liarsoft VNDS port. I don't know. Whoever that is. Um. So yeah, this is gonna be, obviously it's going to be a lot less, it's going to be lower quality than what you'd see on like the PC. I'd assume you play this visual novel on PC. um Also, you might hear my laptop fan in the background. I don't really care about that. It's going to be there. I can't really stop it from happening. It is what it is. Whatever. All right, if you're going to complain about it, complain about it. I don't care. Personally. So yeah. Anyway. Oh, oh snap. Huh? What? Yeah. Wait, hold on. Yeah. What? Yeah. Hold on, wait, now we're gonna freestyle this. Yeah, wait. Yeah. Hey! Hold on, wait. I pull out the chopper. If he run up to me, you an opper. Hold on, wait. Don't step up to me, or else I'ma have to wait. Hold up, I'ma have to hit you with the P, hit you with the K2. Don't mess with me. You're gay too, man. I'm gay. I don't really care. But listen, man. I got a pair of pieces up in my pants, huh? 2 pieces up in my pants. 3 pieces up in my socks. 5 pieces up in my tank top. Like, okay. Yeah? What? Yeah. Yeah, huh? What? Wait, hold on. Wait, yeah. Look. I pull out the chopper. Yeah. I'm busting the knopper. Let's go. Wait. I ain't no 12 though. If you're trying to step up to me, you get popped though. What? Yeah. Yeah. I put you on my shelf though. Alright. What the heck is debug mode? Nah, I'm curious. Oh, never mind. Never mind. How do I get out? How? Okay. Hey, listen. Yeah, what? Yeah, what? Hey. Wait, I send you up to the sky. You dead now. Trying to step up to me? Your friend, he's dead now. What? He's dead now. What? Look, he's dead now. Yeah, I put some lead rounds up in your chest now. What? Hey, I put it in your leg now. What? I pull out the chopper. I pull out the K. I pull out the piece. Yeah, I say peace, cause you're out of here, bitch. Deuces. Yeah, ain't no truces up in here. What? Ain't no truces. Yeah, I pull up like I'm Bruce Wayne. All black fit. Trying to step to me, then I step on that dick. What? Wait, yeah. Leave you up in the ditch. Huh? Leave you up in the ditch. Yeah. I throw that shell like I'm throwing the pitch. Yeah. 3 times faster. I'm the master. Like, okay. Oh my god, 6 minutes already. Alright. Start the damn novel. What? You can choose whether or not to play the minigame for your playthrough or automatically skip it. I honestly do not know what that says, bro. Hold on. I need a higher resolution photo. Hold on. What's this called again? Give me a sec, y'all. Alright. Cool. So, just in case I forget to edit this in, what this says, I'm going to read it out loud because I have a high resolution photo here. Here's what it reads. Minigame skip. You can choose whether or not to play the minigame through this playthrough or automatically skip it. Caution. If you have not played this before, we do not recommend skipping the minigame. If you skip the minigame, you will miss a number of important scenes and CGs in the minigame segments. We recommend playing with the minigame at first, and if you find it so hard you get stuck, then start the game over with the minigame skip enabled. You cannot change this setting without starting a new game from the main menu, but since you can skip through previously read text, you can quickly return to where you got stuck. So please take advantage of it. Okay. I got you. So, minigames are... Now I'm skeptical. Is this even gonna work? I don't know. Because if there's minigames, I don't know how you can possibly implement minigames into VNDS whatsoever. Anyway, let me return this volume to normal. I might lower it a bit. See how it goes. And actually, I do want to... Hold on. So before I even start... Yeah. I'm going to see if the audio levels are fine. Give me a sec, guys. Alright, I'm back. Audio seems good. I lowered the game volume a little bit. We are not gonna skip. Let's go! Oh my god, I said that very loud. Okay. This seems good so far. Stable. Ha! The clown is dancing at the edge of my vision. He was always trying not to look at it. For some reason, the clown made him recall the past. Memories of the past. You couldn't remember them very well since they were all broken up into little pieces. The dancing black clown. He'd always tried to avert his gaze, but today, He saw both it and the memories that came with it. Hold on, let me check my notifications. We good. That was, yes, 10 years ago. His memories were now tender fragments. Countless memories draped in red and black hues. Bro, what the clown do to you, man? Memory. A deep moan full of screams and despair. Memory. He'd been haughty, thinking that this hand can save them. He'd been so sure that holding it out could save someone. Memory. Lives slipping through his fingers one by one. Memory. The time when everything in the city began to crumble. Ah, I can hear a voice asking something. It couldn't be answered. His words would never come, and his extended hand would never reach. That was surely the time when he broke, together with the world. Wandering amidst the moaning voices, gazing endlessly at the tears of many, and moving his useless hands, as if struggling through a deep mist, as if writhing in the midst of a bad dream. 10 years. It occurred to him that 10 years had already passed since this fantastic city had been born. Since this world, since this city broke. 10 years. What? What was that? Oh, I didn't get to read that. What the hell? What happened to bro, man? Did Berserk get reenacted? The final 3 episodes of Berserk? No way. 10 years. The city's lower tiers. The third commercial ward, also known as Infinitely Crowded Street. As usual, the place was filled with people that had once been called human. Infinite masses of inhuman figures came and went. This would have been a strange scene 10 years ago, but now this was the city's standard appearance. A man with the face of a lizard. A woman with the wings and talons of an owl. A youngster who looked like a dog. And people who hid their forms underneath cloaks. This was perfectly normal. The one and only abnormal thing stood at the edge of his vision. The clown is dancing at the edge of my vision. It's always been doing that. That's the clown? Silence. He gave it a meaningless answer in his mind because the illusion was talking to him today as usual. One small sigh. The traveling Dr. G was wandering around the lower tiers, oh my lord, as usual. An illegal cracking doc who ignored the obvious selections made by city law and never discriminated by class. He walked through the sea of people in a reconstructed cloak, very different from the usual white doctor's coats. Hello, Guy. The illusion that only Guy could see. For the second time today it spoke. The clown that haunted the edge of his vision. If he tried to focus on it, it would fade away. For 10 years, this illusion has existed within G's vision. He never told anyone about it. G or Guy? I'm gonna say Guy. G is like G-E-E, so I'm gonna say Guy. Or Jai? Nah, I'm gonna say Guy. In this city, an abnormality of this magnitude was all too commonplace. What would be the point? One corner of crowded street, Guy whispered as he looked at a certain facade. The greedy Stanislaw, that's a new word. The greedy Stanislaw seemed to be out. The twins and their cute yet detestable twittering weren't there either. They must have been out making money somewhere. And so Guy continued to wander, searching for a patient. The city was overflowing with clients. The city. Its name was Inganock. Okay, come on. Inganock. The city of Inganock. The fantastic city that none speak of. It was once one of the great engine cities of the eastern continent. It had been beautifully equipped to be the world's first multi-tiered complete environment city. Now it was different. A fantastic drag, isolated and independent. Yes, that's right. Surely no one on the outside spoke of the city. Everything changed with the revival 10 years ago. After being cut off from the outside world by a mysterious mist, Inganock changed and warped. Some said that the city died that day. Guy thought it was a fair statement. It certainly had died. This abnormal situation had caused a great deviation from the city arcology plan. Trees and plants grew rampant in several sections with a green no one had ever seen. Everything changed. The medicine Guy had studied for the sake of humanity lost all meaning because everyone's bodies had mutated. Those who changed into fantastic mutants like birds and boars, those who changed into soundless lumps of rock, and those who changed into dying plants. Each and every one of them changed. By now there was no pure and simple human in the city's lower tiers. Yes, including Guy himself. What in the world? So everyone just became like an animal mutant. So some mysterious, like, I guess, mist of nature came in, and then all of a sudden, everyone started developing into, like, literally freaks of nature. Like human-animal mutants, including Guy himself. Using his hands and right eye, he examined the patient's condition. An understanding grew within his mind. She had terrible pneumonia. His right eye? What is that? Now I'm curious. I can see the picture. He has something on his right eye, like holographics. In a tier even lower than infinitely crowded streets, on the lower of the 13th slum district, Guy examined his second patient of the day. Pneumonia, malnourishment, and weakened immunity. 10 years ago, she would have been a goner. But now, every disease that existed before the mutations could be dealt with somehow. Guy used the phenomenon equation specialized in physical healing. It was also known as cracking. With it, he rewrote her body's code. They can all be dealt with, somehow. He closed his eyes. He felt the light of the phenomenon equation through his eyelids. It was probably the first time she'd seen it. The woman raised her voice out of fear and admiration. It could be dealt with. From what he could see through his equation's right eye, the location and nature of her internal organs were mostly the same as a human's 10 years ago. That helped. However, G's right eye could see it. The woman's lower abdomen. A section of her intestines. It was already beginning to mutate into something insectoid. Her physique as well. Her shoulder blades were beginning to coexist with an exoskeleton. The old G would have thought, how can she... Oh, the old sorry. How can she still be alive with such organs? Organs from multiple kinds of organisms were melting together. Despite that, she was still alive. But that was Inganock. Oh my god. Inganock for you. Inganock. It's gonna be a while. An isolated city where the smog and sludge of the steam engines went hand in hand with such fantasies and mutations. This woman, she was in her late 30s with 5 young children. She'd probably be completely mutated by the time she reached 40. Fantastic mutants existed with the qualities of insects, namely the shelobs living in the forests of the upper tier staircase. Their kind had a calm temperament, but their external appearances were those of insects. Most of the time, they despaired and went mad, cursing their fate and their mutated bodies. I can't do anything. Not as Gi. What would become of this woman once her mutation completed? And what of her children? What would they think of her? I can't do anything. I haven't been able to do a thing these past 10 years. What is up with this clown, man? That was unusual. The illusion called to him a third time today. He didn't bring up the mutation. He ignored the clown. Gi focused his mind solely on the activated equation. My brain is functioning. The organ administering my phenomenon equation. Yes, Gi was also mutating. Thanks to that, he could do this. Because his brain was mutating into something so different, he could do things that would have been impossible 10 years ago. Like a bad joke, he could now use this trick called the phenomenon equation. 10 years ago, Gi's brain had warped into this. Sorry, Gi. Gi knew about the equation composing her and her illness. In other words, he could see miscalculations and tamper with them. He carefully picked them out one by one. A number was 1 when it should have been 3. He rewrote it into the correct 3. With that, the healing ended. What? Huh, okay. Procedure complete. The treatment's over now, madam. He confirmed with his right eye. He definitely exterminated the bacteria in her bronchi. Healing complete. Something simple like this could easily be dealt with. Gi squirmed himself as he gazed at the patient. Countless mutations and diseases had come into being over those past 10 years. This trick wouldn't work against any of them. It just wasn't enough. There were countless things which couldn't be healed despite cramming the phenomenon equation into his mutated brain. Like the bacteria floating throughout the infected 4th reservoir lake. Even for something like this, where one simply removed the focus of a disease and restored organ functionality, there were times when nothing could be done. The taboo infections. Death by mutation. Rampant drugs. And the 41 creatures in hiding. Countless lives, flowing, falling. Few of them could be saved. That's why, in the end, this light is nothing more than a trick. He was looking at the 5 children. They were peeking through the door in the other room. Would there ever be a time when they could pay? Too many of the people in the lower tiers were sick. None of them had a chance of becoming rich upper tier aristocrats or engine millionaires anytime soon. When she weakly tried to protest, Gi stopped her with his hand. I don't mind. Gi felt as if he should only take money from those who had it. There was no money to be found where the needy people were. It gathered around those who didn't need it. Gi felt he should just take it from them instead. Nonetheless, he knew that he was close to starvation. How many days had it been since he'd last ingested something other than water or coffee? He couldn't remember. How many days ago had he last felt hunger? It wouldn't be long before he'd have to choose a slightly richer customer through the dealer's influence. His own health was nearly at its limit. Gi looked down at the back alley. Some scrap engine machines were rolling around lazily. There he decided to sit down and rest for a bit. Then he saw a trio of small shadows. Their heads popped up out of nowhere. Oh, like, common passerbys, I guess? Or, I guess, clients. Good afternoon, Sensei.
おじちゃんこんにちは。今日もお仕事ご苦労様。お兄ちゃんって言わなきゃダメなのよ。ね、いい先生。そうなの？お兄ちゃんなの？でもお兄ちゃんなのはルポだしさ。ルポは弟でしょ？お姉ちゃんが私なんだから。
This is confusing. This is confusing. Okay. He is talking a lot. Hold on, I'm missing some dialogue here. This visual novel is it's like formatted quite differently than the ones I'm used to on VNDS here. I'm not used to the voice lines kind of doing that. I'm not used to voice lines in general, to be honest, when it comes to VNDS. Perel, Lupo, and Polum. Good luck with your work. So Polum is like the shy one, I guess. Right? Polum is the shy one. Perel is the energetic one. And then, I guess, Lupo is in the middle. Alright. Yeah, I'm gonna voice this. Just call me whatever you want. Good afternoon, Poland. How's your arm feeling? Lupo and Perel too. Are your arms and legs moving properly? We're fine. The children smiles, innocent with no fear of tomorrow. My heart aches whenever I see them. What do I mean by good to hear? 3 children who'd been exposed to... what is this? Arboritis, a disease often referred to as the seeds that sow death. Their infected hands and feet had been replaced with cold machines. Even now, he could remember that night. That night, when he'd implanted cheap crack engines into those kids. More specifically, they were engine limbs he'd gained from taking out a loan from the mechanic, Morimoto. Screaming voices, crying loud voices. He did it with no anesthetic? They remind me of something. Something from my hazy memories of 10 years ago. But he couldn't think about that. He couldn't. Guy quickly thought about something else. He didn't need to look at his pocket watch. He could tell the time just by looking at the sky. It was already evening. The gray was a darker shade than normal. The smog-filled sky. A sky that had long forgotten the color blue. Even before the revival 10 years ago. What happened 10 years ago, man? Smog or something, right? Smog? A subtle distinction between hues. Bro, was it like the mist? Was it like a normal town and then the mist happened and then everything just went crazy? Like, what's happening? Y'all seen that movie, The Mist? The ending is crazy, bro. No way you just did that to your family for nothing. Oh my gosh. Alright, go home, all 3 of you. Who's the boss? Who's the boss? Is it me? I think they're talking about me. Yes, sir. Now the factory's full of smoke. Engine machines. Blessings of steam culture. Given form by the great scholars to support the people's way of life. Factory, farming, and manufacturing engines. Machines that allowed people to live comfortably in Inganock. There we go. I got it right. However, the smoke they gave off ate into the body. I'll research the signs of asthma as well as engine limb maintenance, and I'll be sure to do it before their next exam, Guy thought. This place is far too twisted for children to live in.
だから遊ぶ時間全然なくて、もうちょっといいでしょ先生。もっとお外で遊びたい。
Yeah, Polam is like the quiet one.
ダメ。帰りなさい。
Their foster father was the boss of a small engine factory. When would that man start abusing them? People would bet on things like that in the nearby engine taverns. If they were helping with the factory work, then not yet. They should still be fine.
時間を気にするべきだな。
Holy. Oh, wow. So this is like a whole like steampunk setting we got here. And for some reason, there's some people who for some reason are like mutated with like insect characteristics. And sometimes, or I'd bet you most of the time, it can cause problems, right? Huh. This is weird. This is like unlike any other visual novel I've seen. Red. Looking around, he saw no recognizable faces. There didn't seem to be anyone he can entrust those kids to. There was an engine spirit nearby. Other than that, only the clown at the edge of his vision.
僕が送っていこう。あの親方には僕が言っておく。
What's with the clown?
ちゃんとおかみさんに謝るように。
Eh? Okay. 3 answers.
はーい。はーい。
And then 2 more late ones. Guy led the 3 children back to their home, holding their hands. Even for just half a mile, it needed to be done. They couldn't be left alone. The city is already broken. I can't leave them be. If he said goodbye and left them now, those 3 surely wouldn't live until tomorrow. He heard that child abductions were common around here and found it disgusting. It'd been years since he last felt proud of that opinion, but even so, he held their hands. He couldn't not lead those children home. Home to the engine factory, which could hardly be called safe. He walked on, trying not to think about anything. Even now the illusion dances at the edge of my vision. The clown. The clown is haunting you, man. For some reason, I'm guessing ever since 10 years ago, he's been just seeing and hearing this clown. I don't know about that. I don't know what's with that. That's out of my ballpark for theories. No clue. You think I should try and theorize that? Is there a reason for that? But what reason would there be? My first guess would be PTSD, but I don't know why would a clown cause PTSD? Did the clown come from the mist? Is that what's going on? The smog? Night in Inganock. Guy walked down the infinitely crowded street. He was heading towards a slightly higher district, but despite being higher, it was still part of the lower tiers. The upper and lower tiers. The former was one small part at the peak of the city. So wait, hold on. Lower and upper tier, I'm guessing the upper tier is where the wealthy go, and the lower tiers, you know, where we are, right? Everything else was part of the city's lower tiers. The former was one small part of the peak of the city. Okay, so you're in the lower tier. I gotcha. Lower tier is where, you know, all the poverty is, and the upper tier is where all the rich people are.
また何か言われるかな。
The lower tier citizens the lower tier citizens that Guy encountered often had 2 kinds of reactions. A careful analysis would reveal endless variations, but there were 2 major types. The first was a warm reaction, like the ones of the 3 children and the patient from earlier. Guy didn't like that type. It made him remember calmer days from before the city warped. Moreover, he was deeply affected by just how powerless he was. Compared to that, he found the other kind of reaction calming. The scornful people who pointed at Guy as if to say, "What a weirdo," before that was exactly what he was, or because that was exactly what he was. The fixer, an influential man on crowded street, and the med school classmate from when he went to the upper tier university. They both repeatedly called him weird. Guy also saw himself as truly weird. There was no gain. No matter what he tried to do, he'd just be tormented by a sense of powerlessness. Even so, he continued to perform illegal healing. I can't go on without doing it. That's right. Even though the world had changed. Even if it was already broken. He couldn't stand still. He'd been doing this every day for the last 10 years. Even now, the clown is dancing at the edge of my vision.
聞いているかいギー大事な話なんだお前さんにとって
He was listening. Guy nodded, urging Eerily on. Eerily Barnes, a classmate from 10 years ago. They'd once studied medicine together in Inganock's upper tier university. After a revival, he opened a hospital and met with reasonable success, working on humans who had barely any mutations. It was a strange thing. Among those who'd retained most of their human features, there was a lot of high-class citizens from the wealthy tiers. That was why Eerily had done so well. He was making the correct usage of the skills he earned. He wasn't wasting the medicine created for the sake of humanity. His operating hours were from 1 to 7 p.m. on weekdays, closed on weekends. It was said that he held parties every weekend. Guy recalled seeing the Myrmidon nurse by the hospital entrance, showing an unpleasant yet charming face. Myrmidon nurse? I don't know what a Myrmidon nurse is. He was pretty sure that the four-armed girl was Early's current lover. The informant twins said that his real love interest was a merchant's daughter who he courted every week at the parties. That's right, Eerily had done well.
お前は優秀な男だ俺には分かってる大学でもお前にかなう奴はいなかった私なんて落ちこぼれもいいとこだったお前は実際よくやってるよ医学を捨てなかった誰もが諦める中でお前はクラッキングだって脳に収めてみせたわかるだろうギー私はお前をある面では尊敬してるんだ
Guy also knew that Eerily despised him in a certain way. He despised Guy because he worked on those who had no money, despite knowing that such a thing was truly meaningless in the city. Eerily wouldn't understand, because Guy himself didn't understand either.
お前を上層兵に突き出すようなことはしたくないんだわかるかお前エンジン工場に引き取られた子供とよく会っているそうだなブラックエンジンさえ買って埋め込んでやったとか
Guy tilted his head. He couldn't tell where this was going. Just what was his former classmate trying to tell him? Dosages of drugs given to patients post-op. Something even the phenomenon equation couldn't replace. He'd come to Eerily's hospital to stock up on them. But today, Eerily's lectures and complaints were taking a long time.
間引きは罪じゃないわかるなだがその反対は罪だお前のそれはやはり都市法違反なんだ私はいいんだけどな世間はそうは思わない知っているだろ子供の消失が多すぎるお前が犯人だという噂だって雑踏にはある
Hold on. What? Now I'm actually curious. My vocab isn't that crazy. What's culling? Hold on. Listen, culling isn't a sin, you know that, but opposing it is a sin. Culling. Oh. Okay, here we go. Culling. Reduction of a wild animal population by selective slaughter. Oh, so it's like an invasive species? And you're reducing it? Or I guess, you know, sending a, not sending an animal to the slaughterhouse, but like if you're selectively breeding, then, well, in extreme cases, you would kill the animal that doesn't have the desired genes, I guess. I don't know. Something like that. Huh. There's a rumor on the streets that you're the culprit. Well, yeah, I guess, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
お前の手の届かない連中は逆にお前を憎む。わかるぞ。彼らは確かに哀れだ。しかし、それがどうした？手を出すな。出すだけお前の損だ。恩は与えた分何倍もの恨みになる。
That made sense. There was certainly some truth in that. Guy gave a vague nod. It shouldn't be much longer before this led into drug embezzlement. He seemed to be wrapping up his lecture. If I got killed, huh? I see. At the edge of my vision, the clown. Oh. Infinitely crowded streets at night. The din was more severe than it was at midday. Everyone here just for one night desired to dream. Alcohol, women, even drugs. The drunks continued to vomit grandly in the back alleys, and thieves slept with their hands in their pockets. Prostitutes picked up clients along the main street. Cheap illegal drug vendors shouted about new deals, and sparks flew on the engine-type electric bulletin boards scrolling over their heads. The urban roamers, no longer able to wander to other cities, made their usual racket, which could hardly be called music. They sung of their sad fate trapped in Inganock. Hearts go wild here. People wish just for one night of dreams. The king doesn't protect his citizens. Instead of joy, people continue to quaff poison. Instruments with broken strings lay at the roamers' feet. And an old empty food can... No, it's... Oh my god. An old empty food can laid open with 3 shillings inside. A paper bag containing breadcrumbs, and 3 more shillings, a glass bottle with a tiny amount of fluid inside, and some broken instruments. Their only assets. There were no longer any humans who'd pay just for a song. Until 10 years ago, this sort of thing never happened in the gigantic nations centered around the engine cities of the greatest kings and nobles. People had been living peacefully in them. A complete environment city. In other words, a world with no need to trade with the outside. All production and consumption originated and vanished within Inganock. An ideal city dreamt up by the great scholars. But now, those ideals easily burst at the seams. There were many nightmares and only a handful of pleasant dreams. Even now, Guy remembered someone he met 6 years ago, an aged teacher who spoke of life itself. The old teacher, who changed into an Ezek resembling a feline. For him, with his insight into life, the fantastic change tormenting his body was nothing more than a cool breeze. He'd probably throw some shillings into that empty cup. Given up. Given up. On what? What don't I want to give up on? The opium den on crowded street. Its entrance suddenly entered his vision. Almost like a memory, he could see it at the edge of his vision. Although he shouldn't be able to see it clearly, Guy felt as if the clown was pointing toward that entrance. Guy knew what was there. A shop that smoked both legal and illegal drugs. There was an illegal brothel at the back. People said it was a melting pot of pleasure. The twins had whispered that some of the rich merchants with ties to the upper tier went in and out of here. However, it was a place Guy had no connection to whatsoever. Even when he paused in front of this place, there was only a short exchange of greetings with the owner. Tonight should have been no different, and yet... Oh, she's completely mutated. She got like a... I think she kind of like mutated into a snake. I don't know what that is. Man, I'm gonna have a drink of water right quick, man. My voice is dying. Ah, yes, sir. Alright. Alisa Gregg. The owner of the opium den, providing pleasure to all without discrimination, from laborers to wealthy merchants. The rumor that she'd attack you with drawn fangs if you didn't call her by her full name was true. She was also a client of Guy's. Yeah, I was wondering why you said her full name. I was like, that's a kind of, I don't know. I was like, that's a bit weird. A drug that had been popular a few years ago had eaten away at her heart. The hookah was her life. They didn't usually talk for this long. However, today, the dancing illusion at the edge of his vision. Again, he had a feeling that it was pointing. Guy hesitated in answering. The image of a clown, which he knew was nothing more than an illusion, seemed to be saying that there was something inside that brothel. Something's inside the brothel? What is it? There's nothing in there but beds. What would Frood say about this? Am I getting desperate? Reckless, even? He could hear strange sounds coming from the owner's snake belly. Yeah, it is a snake. It is a snake. Weariness was mixed with that calm, comfortable sound. She was tired. So was Guy. So was everyone. He gave a small sigh and shrugged his shoulders. I'll just see your face, Alisa Gregg, he said with a sigh. Guy went through the door. Buy a woman? No, I don't think that's why I'm here. Would it be easier if I became dependent on pleasure, like the people having fun in the other rooms? He thought. No. He was just tired. Guy heaved a sigh. Just a little tired. He'd walked all around the lower tiers and healed 6 patients today. He wasn't quite up to the walk back home. He could just sleep here for a while. He'd give that girl some time to take a break. I'm spending money again. While Guy absent-mindedly thought that, he knocked on the door. It opened. Yo. Yo, this Is this NSFW? If it is, I'm probably gonna have to censor some stuff. Oh well, oh well. Salem, the smell of medicine bottles. A high voice laughing at imperial tabloids. Yeah, that's it. This high voice. This soft yet shallow laugh. Despite all that changed over the last 10 years, he recognized those two things. Guy didn't express those thoughts. Instead, the girl opened her mouth. Her clear smile soon disappeared. He saw an expression without flair. Ah, he was right. That face, that expression, and that skin. There was no mistaking it. It was Salem.
君嘘まだそのもしかして上層大学
Does this doctor know everyone within this town?
医学部の同期だってねえそうよね本当に君なの
ああ僕さ久しぶり
ふん
10年ぶりかなサレム
本当に久しぶり
An embarrassed smile. She'd never made this kind of face in the past. Salem. Yes, it was Salem. Guy remembered. She was once a friend of his, studying at the same university. To think he'd see her again in a place like this. Nothing had surprised him lately. What sort of face was he making? Guy tried to imagine it, but couldn't. He looked at Salem's face, at the thoroughly changed form of his old friend. Her body. It looks like a human, but the sunken color burnt into her eyes stand out.
そうねなんかそうねお酒作る君とお話がしたいわいい
ああ構わないよ
A flattering voice, as if imploring. A voice that Guy had never heard before. An expression he didn't know was covering Salem's face, but that didn't surprise him. After all, 10 years had passed. 10 years that Guy didn't know about.
ありがとうどうしましょうびっくりしてしまって動機が止まらないわまさかアリさんの言う通りだったのかしら
アリサ・グレッグは何と
変わり者のお客さんが来るからまずはそこに入る前にそのお客さんを見て初日の緊張をほぐしなってプロなのにね君お金払ってもお店のこと寝ないって本当なの
どうかなそれよりさアリサ・グレッグは
ああ本人の前ではフルネームの話そうしなきゃ危ないって本当なのね
以前一人顔を裂かれたよ客だったけどね
Oh.
あ怖い気をつけなきゃいけないわね教えてくれてありがとう
Okay. Salem sat down on the bed, giggling like a girl. Even though she was a pro, that made sense. She was used to Salem's line of work. There didn't seem to be any falsehood in those words.
3日前この層に越してきたのそれでここに勤めさせてもらったってわけよかったわ君ここの近くに住んでる
ああすぐ近くだよ
今度遊びに行くわお部屋はきちんと片付けてる
いや
なにそれ遊びに行くのだねそれともお部屋が汚いって意味
サレム今までどこにいたこの10年どうしてたんだ
He thought she was dead. He thought that way about all the people he'd known before the day of revival. After all, his family died, as had many of his friends. They all died from engine fires and creature injuries. What happened, man? That was why he considered Salem to be someone who died a long time ago.
同じのもっと下にいたわここよりも仮想の中でも特にひどいところ
ここよりもひどいところが
そうねそうねどこも同じね吐きだめだわそうね君冗談言うようになったのね
言わないさそうどこも同じだけれど君は変わったのかい以前の君は
もうやめてよそんなことよりどうお話ししながら楽しむのすごくうまいのよ前のお店でも評判だったの
She dodged the question with a smile. Her past seemed to be something which couldn't be touched. Surely for the same reasons as Guy's. He shrugged his shoulders. Just for a moment, he touched Salem's cheek.
冗談以前の君を知ってるんだすまないね僕では無理だ
そんなに寂しい目で見ないでこっちが悲しくなっちゃうお相手するわよ好きにしていいよ
Hey, yo!
子供だって産んであげちゃう本気なの
Am I really surprised? Am I really surprised? This is just... Yeah, I mean, come on. What? Why is she so infatuated?
そう何度も冗談を言うものじゃないよ君はジョークが得意だったろ
This is just... This is just a visual novel trope at this point, man. Back then, he often heard Salem's bright laughing voice. He had a feeling that this was one of the little pieces of his fragmented memory. Salem laughing and Guy watching. It was nostalgic. No, not that. Didn't something else happen too? He thought. It wasn't something he should remember. Nothing would come from remembering.
じゃあ残り時間どう潰すの
Oh, she was joking? Alright, alright.
実は疲れていてね眠いんだ眠らせてくれると嬉しい
そう分かったわじゃあおやすみ
ギーだ今はそう名乗ってる
それじゃあおやすみギいい夢
Good night, Guy. Sweet dreams. She said that with a smile. Only that smile and that voice of hers were as he remembered them. Oh, heck no. Oh, no. The clown. Let me save here. Oh, that was a pretty fast save. Alright. This is going pretty well, actually. Hold on. Now, I'm curious. If I missed a visual novel before this, I'm just gonna look at it at the visual novel database real quick. So hold on, let's see here. And y'all gonna have to wait. I'm not gonna bother skipping this out because I don't really care. Alright. Let's see. VNDB. I'm not gonna try to spoil myself here. I think VNDB is pretty good with that. I don't think there's like something before this. Doesn't really say anything. Alright, I'm just gonna keep going. Because it's like, what if I missed a whole visual novel before this that goes into what happened 10 years ago? That would be crazy. That would be bonkers. Absolutely bonkers, man. Like, wow. Alright. We have to spend the night with this clown. Alright, here we go.
そして目覚める時間だ
Ugh. He opened his eyes. Light was already pouring into his room. Was it morning already? It certainly did feel like morning. He could hear just a little of the warp birds twittering. Influenced by the equation, his right eye could see light on the other side of the eternally gray mist, even through the curtain. The curtain. Something familiar entered his vision. His small bedroom. An apartment he couldn't quite call comfortable. The engine-type air conditioning was the pride of his room. And he felt someone else's presence, but it felt familiar. His tense nerves soon relaxed. A presence suited to the dark. As if seriously silenced her breath. Guy probably wouldn't notice her. He sat up and looked to one side. There she was, the black cat lying on the bed.
あ、起きた。
What?
キー、もう何時だと思ってるのさ。
What?
気づいても起きないんだもん。心配するよ。
What? What? What?
眠りは浅い方だけど
What?
まだ朝のはずだと思うんだが
Who is this?
こんばんはアティ
朝じゃないのさ。こんばんはギー。違う。おはようじゃなくて、こんにちはが正解さ。ギー。
それは失礼をしたねこんにちはアティ
The smell of food reached his nostrils. It came from the other side of the door. Usually, she'd make just enough for herself, eat it, then hurry off to work. She was a cat. The black cat. Oh, right! She probably got mutated. Okay. That was her street name. A pillant and agile, chrome-built black female cat. Addie the black cat. A runner who worked only for money. She was a cat with no collar. Always free, never looking back, here 1 minute and gone the next. He didn't worry about it. Her presence was no longer unusual. Guy pulled up his blanket and tried to go back to sleep
ギー
when...
の分もあるからブランチ。美味しくないけど食べてね。
And get up, Guy. You know you like that food. It's not that good, but do eat. Never mind. But do eat it. He woke up completely this time. That whimsical cat had made him brunch? What change of heart was this? Cooking? Her? Rare things do happen. The black cat's hands aren't suited for cooking, and
と
yet...
ころでギー、ゆうべはどこでお楽しみだったのかな。女の匂いがする。すっごい濃い女の匂い。誰？
Ah. So that's what this was all about. She was practically freedom incarnate. What reason did this cat have to worry about Guy? Out of the two kinds of reactions people often had about him, which one was hers? In some ways, she was like the children. In others, she was like the dealer and eerily. Guy couldn't pin it down. Somehow, he just couldn't grasp that cat.
違う昔の友人だよ女じゃない
嘘。
嘘じゃない
嘘は嫌い。許さないから。嫌いなことしないでちょうだいキー。
What is... Whoa!
友達でしょ？
Alright, here we go. So it is NSFW. Ah, I never knew that. Like, come on, we all knew that. Just based on where the story was going, like, come on. If it's a dark story, it's probably gonna be NSFW. Let's be real. He pushed him down hard. When she was serious, Guy couldn't hope to beat her. Addie bore down on him, pushing him into the bed. He could feel both her weight and her softness. Her face was close. Her breath touched his lips and cheeks.
嘘つかないで。付き合う。私たち長いんだか
No way, man. What type of relationship do these two have? This is crazy.
なら話してくれよ。頼むから。
Friends, really? I don't know about that, man.
付き合い長いね。いい。最近付き合い悪い。
Being this close together, I can feel her supple body. Muscles far denser and more pliant than any humans. That was why Addie had thrown her body into the world of the runners. She could hunt engine humans and ferocious monsters. Guy's overall physique was the better of the two, but if Addie was serious, her victory would be certain, of course. Absolutely certain. To begin with, Addie was stronger than most Puckles? What? Pupils? Pucels? Pupils? I don't know. There were a number of reasons for that. Even so, Guy's bones weren't creaking, and her retractable artificial claws weren't tearing him apart. She was holding back. She wasn't trying to hurt him. Guy knew that. He knew that, but
話せと言うのに。
いや。本気で拒むならそう。クラッキングでも使ってみなさいな。私なんて人たまりもないから。
僕は見るくらいしかできないよ。あとは手品だ。
見てほしいの。私は。
冗談は今日はもう打ち止めでね。悪いけど、もう少し眠らせてほしい。
ダメ。もうお昼。ね。遠慮してるならやめて。そういう間柄じゃないと思うし。抱いて。ね。シャワーちゃんと借りたんだから。
unsurprisingly, there was the scent of engine factory-made soap. Guy was careful not to inhale it. The scent of soap was his weak point. He turned his face away and Addie's followed him. She was looking at him close up.
出ないで。あんまり逃げると怒るよ。
You're already mad. I considered saying that aloud, but
体力がなくてね。
じゃあ体力つけて。ちゃんと食べて。またコーヒーしか飲んでないんでしょ。
水は飲んでるよ。
同じじゃない。
same difference? What?
今死ぬと私困るのさ。
Ah, that's true. That's true. Since I'd lose another safe place to sleep. That's how I thought she'd finish her sentence, but she said nothing. Instead, her gaze silently fell down on him. A beautiful golden eye looked at Guy. That right eye of hers was strange even among Puculis. Whatever. They exchanged gazes within that silence. 1 second, 2 seconds. Guy couldn't help but look away first. For some reason, whenever that eye gazed at him too long, he lost the will to disobey. Was it because of its golden beauty? Or something else?
あ、そう。そうなの。また口打ちしない？また無理やり食べさせて。
Hey, yo! Say yes, come on, man, come on.
いや、それは。
That would, that would turn me on. I don't want that.
じゃあ今ちゃんと食べる？お肉も野菜もちゃんと食べれるわね。
That'd be what?
全処する。なるべく。
全処しなきゃいけないことなのね。嫌だけどちょっと安心した。変なギーだわ。いつも通りの。
Nah, she cares about him. She cares about him. That's nice.
そう。いつも通りさ。
Yes, I'm the same as always. Let me hit that save. I like to save when it's a black screen and there's no music playing. Because in my experience, it's usually like the easiest to save when it's there. Yes, I'm the same as always. So begins another day in Inganock. Oh, here we go. Back in hell. We're back in hell. The gray sky was relatively bright. None of it came from the streetlights outside. He stepped outside his apartment. She was right, it was already past noon. Beside him, the black cat puffed out her chest as if to say, "Told you so." His watch pointed to 11. The sensation he felt when awakening was just the morning's end. Behind him, the apartment's automatic lock snapped into place. Oh, that's cool. Without looking back, he began to walk towards the monorail, and Addie softly approached his side. Yesterday and today, what was wrong with her? Forget the clown, forget the brothel. For whatever reason, even Addie hadn't been normal lately. Guy turned his gaze towards Addie's head just once and thought, "The clown, is it here today at the edge of my vision?" He wouldn't acknowledge it today. That would disturb him too much. He walked silently for a while, so did Addie. The lower tier monorail was close to his apartment. He could walk to the monorail station within a few minutes. A small station shaped like a steam trolley bus stop.
ああがっかり会場あるとこ見せてくれてもいいのにさ
Wasn't Guy sleeping with the other girl? How did Guy get from there to his place? Maybe it's just like a small detail we didn't even need to know. I don't know. Because it's not that big of a deal, but it's just kind of at the back of my mind.
本当に遠慮することなかったのにゼノニズムじゃあるまいし
盛況ではストア派風と呼ぶらしいよ。今はどういうの？
キー
悪いね。埋め合わせは今度。
分かったわ今度ねそれで今度っていつかな
He pushed Addie into the monorail, which was headed for the nearby saltwater district in the lowest tier, and waved to her through the glass window. She showed him a smile like the three children's and mouthed, "I love you." He shrugged his shoulders in return. What is their relationship? This has got to be the weirdest relationship. I guess it's not uncommon. It's like the girl infatuated with the guy and the guy's indifferent and they're just like coexisting with each other. I don't know. The sound of departure. The engine-type monorail left. His friend left. Guy exhaled lightly. His friend. Surely she was off to work too. She'd probably do something dangerous as always, as he had a pile of unprofitable work as always. Traveling and healing. But before that, he'd stop by the dealer's place. The man said to stand between the surface and the secrets of the infinitely crowded street. Why is it called the infinitely crowded street? It's like it has a name for it. The dealer, Stanislaw, was most likely waiting for Guy. Oh, that's the dealer's name? Oh. Oh, hello. Nah, he completely mutated.
ごきげんよう。今日は口数が多いな、スタニスは。
Indeed he does. Rare things did happen. Guy raised an eyebrow. This is the man who'd said that no matter how hellish the city became, it wouldn't change the fact that money was the magical tool for obtaining everything. Fixer Stanislaw, the black market dealer. Something was bothering him.
そろそろ溜まっている頃と思ったんだがね。
その話は後だ。今月に入ってからもう10人消えた。死体の一部も発見されてる。聞いたか？
Oh. Yeah, a part of a child, a remnant of a tragedy, red and black. I've tried not to imagine it. I've tried to avoid
どう
remembering.
やら怪力の幻想人種どもの仕業らしい。例えば例の新型で理性をきれいに拭った2メートルを超すオーガであるとか。
他人の子供の安否を気にするなんて珍しいじゃないか。フィクサー・スタニスワフ。
It was of no personal concern to him who lived and who died. By the standards of 10 years ago, Fixer Stanislaw would never be considered a good person. It simply wouldn't be possible. Guy observed the dealer without changing his expression. What was he trying to say? He just wouldn't get to the point.
ああ、そうだ。たかがガキが死んだ話でもね。
That's crazy.
関係がある話なんだ、ドクター。高級市民だ。
The thought sickened him, but he made sure his expression didn't reveal it.
上層への税金とうちへの保護料を払ってる高級市民様の子供も消えたのさ。これはまずい時代だ、ドクター。このままじゃ上層の連中に目をつけられる。貴族連中じゃないぞ。都市管理部のクズ連中だ。
クズってことならここにいる2人もそう変わらない。
違いない。冗談がうまくなったな、ドクター。いや、冗談じゃないかね。面白いことを言う。だがね、執行官。ハイネスエージェントがここへ降りてきちまえば、あとはもうどうなることか。
ろくなことにはなるまいね。想像がつく。
I don't want to imagine what a Highness agent would
そ
do.
うだ、その通りだ。だからドクター、お前にも言っておくぞ。怪しいクズを見かけたらすぐに俺に知らせろ。
怪しいやつならワンサといるね。雑踏街を外されば1日で店が開けるさ。
まったくだ。まったくもってクズでクソったれな年だよ。ともかくお前さんの客の中にガキ殺しそうな筋骨隆々の気違いがいたら教えてくれよ。俺はまだ命と金が惜しい。
ああ、わかったよ。ところでこっちの話も聞いてほしい。
話はするがドクターよ。お前じゃないよな。
まさか冗談。
まさか、まさかあのクラック使いでいらっしゃる医師に来ていただけるなんて。
Are you good?
ことを。これは感謝の証です。お受け取りください。ドクター
Okay. Okay, that's just one of your clients. There was no need to count the extra shillings he'd received. It was a large sum. Stanislaw had introduced him to the son of a high-class citizen, said to be a wealthy merchant. He received the shillings and his job was finished. He would be fine for a while if he remained frugal. However, his thoughts were of engine limbs and other medical goods. He was hopelessly thrift. Those children were still growing. Crack engines for 3 people didn't come cheap. He'd also like some new clothes. The prices were high, but his old ones weren't going to fit him much longer. 3 people. Just 3 people. out of the million in the city of Inganock. He wasn't even their caretaker, yet he continued to do all this for him. Why am I deceiving myself like this? He'd long since ceased to scorn himself with such questions. Even so, it's impossible not to think about it.
昨日とやけに考え込む日だな。
Oh, clown again. My gaze moves naturally. He looked straight into the crowd at a figure who stood opposite a group of crocodile-headed men. 2 days in a row. He hadn't thought they'd meet again this easily. Oh wow. Salim. His gaze was softly drawn toward her. Her wardrobe resembled that of a butterfly. She might have mentioned last night that those were her work clothes. It was just before 9 p.m. She must have been on her way to the opium den. There was a fair distance between Guy and Salim. Normally, he had no reason to call out to her. But she was an old friend of his. He couldn't just ignore her. Maybe just a greeting. Guy continued on through the crowds to avoid losing sight of Salim, and within 2 seconds he noticed something. She's searching for someone? She's turning her head left and right amongst the crowd. Meeting up with someone? Then he shouldn't make her late. It'd be best not to say hello. At this rate, they'd see each other again anyway. Then, someone appeared to be speaking to Salim. A man in grey clothing. A part-time city management officer? A dangerous person to be searching for. The part-time officers violently stole people's money. They were nothing more than thieves permitted by city management. Should he go out and help her? They were no big deal if someone simply paid them. As Guy hesitated, he saw Salim's slender fingers slide into the man's pocket. She appeared to be holding 5 shilling coins. A bribe? She seems to be quite used to it. She then kissed the man's neck, probably hard enough to leave a mark. The aroused officer wore a comical expression. He gave no impression of coercion or wariness. Evidently, Salim was more experienced in dealing with them. Strong indeed. If she can do that, there's no need to worry about her. But the moment Guy turned his back to her,
君ギーじゃないやっぱりそうだわよかったどうにも不慣れで困っていたところなの少しだけ時間いいかしら
she noticed him. There was no choice now. Guy nodded. Since he'd gone home early last night, he'd been thinking of doing more work than usual, but he couldn't bring himself to refuse Salim's invitation. The black illusion at the edge of his vision seemed to stop moving a little whenever he looked at Salim.
仕事は何時からだい？
心配してくれるの優しいのね大丈夫今日のお店は0時からなのよ1日ごとに外に待つって決めてるの
A street prostitute? Then what he just saw was a solicitation. Guy pretended he hadn't heard that. I need some water, man.
すごいな新人にしては破格の待遇だ
ええそうよ当然よだって割り物入りなのよ元いたお店では一番手だったんだから
一番手それは困ったまずいお茶とまずい食事しか案内できない
まずい食事って結構よギ美味しいなんて感覚はもう忘れているから
なるほど一理ある値段は安いが酒も料理もうまくはない狭いエンジン酒場が近くにある行くかい
君の行きつけ
さあどうかな。
Okay, we're going out together. That's cool. I'm pretty sure, if he remembered correctly, he hadn't been there in over 2 months. He hoped that his memory was functioning correctly, but he couldn't be sure. Guy took Salem's outstretched hand and traced his memory back to the engine tavern. In less than 5 minutes, he saw a familiar sign. Sorry, I'm just rereading some of this. Okay. I opened the door with creaky hinges and entered the engine tavern. He was met with the pungent odor of alcohol. It was a cheap tavern on crowded street. The noise and smell felt much worse than it did outside. Laborers who came to turn today's wages into alcohol, poor people who won a small bet on an engine spirit race, and those who'd simply come to forget about tomorrow. He looked at the counter. Every bar stool was full. At the same time, Salem found a 2-person table. He shrugged and sat down with her.
いらっしゃいませ。ご注文は何になさいますか？
This waitress looked like a cute human girl, but she was a young, fantastic mutant L. What is an L? The right person for the job. He ordered quickly. He remembered the menu from his previous visit. Fish and herbs raised in the 6th Reservoir Lake, fried Sekien style. Then, Engine Factory made vegetables and cultured meat stewed black. And finally, 1 cup each of cider and coffee.
君お酒飲むようになったの？
ああいや僕のじゃないさ。
あら覚えていてくれたのね。嬉しい。シードルが好きだってこと。
それなら飲んでも酔わないこともね。仕事前でも一杯ならいいだろう。
シードルなら何倍だって言ってるわ。でも驚いたわギー。こういうお店昔は慣れてなかったのに今はもう随分と決まれている感じよね。変わったのね君。名前と同じギー。
それを言うなら変わったのは多分君の方だよ。
昔話したいの？
どうかな。
Although I no longer remember it. Not clearly enough. His fragmented memory was still broken. To the closed and independent Inganock, anything from over 10 years ago held no meaning. After all this, there was no need to remember it.
そういやね。大学にはあまりいい思い出もないし。知ってる？上層大学はもう影も形もないっていう話。復活の日にフリッターが
聞いたかな。噂だね。
ああ、麗しき白く白い。今は跡形もあるのは夢ついえた部屋の残骸。
The revival. The day of revival. That must be, like, the day 10 years ago that was, like, the breaking point. So we're remnants? I see. We could be called that.
されど絶望するの人よ。耳を澄ませば聞こえるだろう。
I can hear them? Hear who?
今聞こえるだろう。背後に息づく彼らの声とうめきと。
The voices and groans of who? Salem's sudden poetic recitation ended, and she closed her mouth as if embarrassed. She smiled at Guy apologetically.
いつか見た夢で誰かが言っていたし、夢なんてすぐ忘れるのに これだけはなかなか頭から離れなくて、跡形もないお城ってところがあるから、つい大学のことを思い出して。
いや、悪くなかった。お礼にここは僕がおごろう。
そう？でも悪いわ。
今日は比較的小金持ちでね。明日がどうか分かったものじゃないが。
おかしい、その言い方。昔の10年前のエラリーみたいで。
昔。
10 years ago, airily, a white coat. I can only remember fragments. His memory was discontinuous. He thought Airily had a part-time job.
覚えてる？あの頃の彼って景気良くて、いろんな相手に声かけて振られてたのよ。おかしいんだから。あれは夏の夜だった。とうとうこっちにも言い寄ってきて、もう困っちゃってね。
What?
本当に。
そうよ。本当なのよ、これが。でも彼、いい趣味してると思うよ。
どうかな。難しい質問だ。
And just before they exchanged answers, the food, alcohol, and coffee arrived at the table. Guy suddenly remembered that the coffee here tasted very bad. He passed the cider glass to her and took the coffee cup in his other hand. They made a toast. The glass and cup made a pitiful sound.
再会に。
あ、再会。
話をごまかすのもうまくなったああ、冗談はうまくなったのはわかるけど。
Salem laughed as she said that. She giggled like a little girl. Ah, there they are again. That smile, those eyes, that voice. The same as before? No. Today he didn't think that. Salem's eyes, they had a sunken purple color. They had once been filled with hope, but now they brimmed with a light stained by fatigue and disappointment. The color of her eyes was different from Addie's gold.
楽しいわ。ありがとう、ユウ。まるで昔に戻ったみたい。
あ、
Almost.
そうかもしれない。
Just now, he lied. Not even for a moment did he think that they'd return to the past. Surely Salem was thinking the same thing. Everything was different from the past. Everything had changed. Everything has changed form.
やっぱり前と変わっているわ。
そうかも。
ねえ、そう前はもっとよく笑う人だった。
笑う。
He could hear them as he walked through the crowds. The laughing voices. Some from alcohol, some from drugs. A parasympathetic nerve reaction. Perhaps his use of the equation made his brain mutate into something even stranger. I don't smile anymore? Now that someone had mentioned it, it sounded awfully true. He was also aware that he didn't scorn himself as much as he used to, if at all. But that didn't particularly matter. And yet, Salem's face and smile weighed down on me. For some reason, even after parting like that, her face remained at the forefront of his mind. Within the crowds, wasn't there anyone wandering around in the form of a butterfly?
変わる。
He'd seen a great many people mutated. Salem might just be the first one he'd known the original form of. Most of the humans he'd known had died. His living friends were all still human on the outside, like Airily. He was the same as Guy. One of his organs had already completed its mutation. That man had 2 hearts. Wait, what? Guy? The first one had already died. Who has 2 hearts? Guy has 2 hearts? His circulatory system couldn't endure the blood flow of 2 hearts, so one of them had to go. Afterward, he'd lived on with pain crushing his chest. He returned his gaze to the crowds and decided to do some more work. Maybe the Twittering twins were in the shop? He wouldn't mind if their prices were high. For now, he had money. Information on hosts. The only people who'd buy such a thing would be undertakers, mourners, and yessirrrs feeding off the laborers. He might as well go all out to be hated. It was his job after all. If the time ever came for him to be killed, if the blades of the enforcers and runners ever came down on him, if that's what happens, I'll think about it when it happens. Then... My gaze moves naturally. What? Oh. He looks straight into the crowd, at a small figure behind the giant, robust man. The man was probably a fantastic mutant ogre. Even in the city, they were prominent for their strength and ferocity. A fearsome type of mutants. Huge, hungry beasts. Was he taking that girl with him? A small child. His gaze was softly drawn to her. He held a weighty leather case in one hand, and the mutant was pulling her along. The present time was just past midnight. She was too young to be a street prostitute on her way to a hotel. There was a fair distance between Guy and the girl. Normally he'd have no reason to call out to her, but his gaze wouldn't leave her. Because Guy understood. The ogre's eyes. That peculiar vacancy. It's that new drug. He's been poisoned with low-quality amneral. Ah. I've just seen something I shouldn't have. They couldn't possibly have been father and daughter. There was no way they could be a respectable pair. The girl was trying to reject him. The man was completely unconcerned about it. Guy could tell just by looking. He understood just by looking. He knew, for instance, what would happen if he spoke up now. Be more careful about how you act. It'd only be your loss if he got killed. My loss, huh? It certainly would be. The girl looked toward him. Their mutual gazes crossed. The girl's eyes looked at Guy's. They weren't golden eyes like Addie's. Guy wasn't their sole captivating interest. And yet they wouldn't look away from him. They weren't clinging eyes wishing for help. They were simply gazing toward Guy, straight and silent. They exchanged gazes without a word. 1 second, 2 seconds. Nah, this isn't good. I mustn't do this. What? Oh. What is happening, man? I'm speaking to the man. Guy blocked the way of the thick-haired man, the crowd slipping past them. He looked just like a hero out of the picture books 10 years ago. On top of that, the man's unhealthy voice had told him to let go. This was bad. He hadn't even considered how he'd feel in this man's shoes. But there was nothing to be done about it. Nothing to be done about anything. There was no mistake. The Abneral was influencing his speech center. He must have been heavily poisoned. And now he was a racist too. I guess that's what a racist is in this civilization. Being prejudiced to people with no mutations. Guy really couldn't have had worse luck. Oh my god. He's saying human like it's a slur. You human! Like, damn. I hate humans!
理屈が通っていない。
Go back to your human family! Go eat your chicken, human! Like, oh my god. No way. That doesn't make any sense.
その子も人間だ。幻想人種の人間だ。
It was probably different in the upper tier, but in the lower tiers they were all the same. Everyone crawling around here was a human. He noticed his vision suddenly lurch. His body shook horribly. A red taste grew in his mouth. By the look of things, he'd been hit in the middle of his sentence. The man's fist was as large as Guy, and it dug deep into his side. He felt the sensation of his ribs snapping and breaking. Fragments pierced through his organs. This was dangerous. One more hit in the same place and he'd die. Thankfully, the second fist impacted elsewhere. The strength of an ogre's arms was truly a marvel. He calculated it this time. This place. If he was lucky, if this made a big enough commotion, nearby crowds certainly couldn't do anything. A berserk ogre is more dangerous than the usual monster, and more importantly, it'd just be weird to want to get involved. But as he thought, he was once again hit. Then with one hand, the man grabbed Guy by the neck. Perhaps he'd grown tired of punching, so he wanted to break Guy's neck with one hand? It wasn't impossible. A creaking sound suddenly rang out. There was a weird sound coming from behind his ears. This was dangerous. The circulation, his oxygen, he could see something at the edge of his vision. The clown? No, not that. The girl. The one in black. Their eyes met. Yes, their eyes met, just as they had done before. As the man moved forward to grasp Guy, he moved further away from the girl. Not a bad result. Not that part, at least. Guy himself, however, was in a bad state. He couldn't think about unnecessary things. Another creak. This time, it was probably his neck bone giving way. He'd assumed that he'd be strangled while dangling in the air, but a fourth fist suddenly beat into his side. Guy thought of it as a huge iron hammer. Beaten. Beaten far too many times to even try to count. The stimulation of the new drug combined with the man's rage had lit a flame under his base, ferocious nature. Now he was shaking him to death?
君を満足させる前に死にそうだ。
Even for a beast, his voice was too horrible. The man's eyes lost focus and spun around. His raised fist was aimed at Guy's cranium, so he'd finally decided to finish Guy off? This isn't good. Didn't she make it in time? Oh! A wind blew. Sharp slicing. Black claws extended from her fingertips straight through her gloves. The artificial claws, which retracted into her finger bones, sliced and tore sharply. Red danced out from the frenzied ogre's arm. He'd been cut. Claws and a golden eye left vague afterimages in Guy's hazy vision. So fast, the ogre couldn't follow her with his eyes alone. The golden-eyed cat and the ogre operated at physically different speeds. It must have taken about 3 seconds. After that, it was simple. There were several sharp sounds of sharp blows, and the ogre disappeared from Guy's vision. Most likely, the man had fallen to the ground, beaten. He shouldn't have died from that, but when Guy tried to speak, blood gushed out of his mouth. Were there still parts of his body that he hadn't yet restored?
殺しはなしだ。
あのねギ私が来ること前提で喧嘩しないで。今日は運よく仕事の打ち上げしてたからよかったけどさ。
He heard Addie sigh. He couldn't see her face as Guy had also fallen to the ground. The entire time he was being beaten, He'd been using the phenomenon equation to restore himself. His vision shook, his head hurt. He probably couldn't stand. His restored organs were hypersensitive. He couldn't move and didn't want to move. That really was dangerous. He'd calculated that. He knew that if her work for today was finished, Addie would be drinking in the nearby tavern. No, it wasn't a calculation, it was a gamble.
何を無理してるのさ。ほんと危なっかしいんだから。格好つけたっていいことなんか。ねえ、ところでさ、こっち見てよ。この子。
Even though he wanted to look, he couldn't move. His whole body was screaming. Besides, Gee's field of vision was gradually shrinking. His consciousness grew dim. Who was she? Ah, that's right, there was that girl. The girl whose eyes met mine.
この子、誰？
Her name. Let me save real quick. Her name. There was no way he could know her name. He never had a chance to ask. Kia? Oh snap, that's my card. Like what? So that's it. So her name's Kia. He opened his eyes. Light was already pouring into his room. A faint sense of morning floated into the air. You could hear just a little of the warp birds twittering. There was a chance that it was already past noon. He was pretty sure that happened yesterday or the day before as well. Influenced by the equation, his right eye could see the light on the other side of the eternally gray mist. The light of the sun. That dull brightness without form. On one part of the sofa, something familiar entered his vision. This wasn't crowded street or his bedroom. This was his apartment's living room? The unpleasant noise of the engine-type air conditioning reached his ears, and he could feel someone else's presence. A sound. Not the sound of his air conditioner or the raindrops on the roof. A sound made by another person. A scent. It was a warm, sunny scent. And of cooking? Addie's? No, it wasn't a familiar presence. However, it wasn't unknown to Guy. I need to get up off the sofa, but all my muscles hurt. During his beating, he'd made his internal organs and his neck bone top priorities for restoration. He'd failed to heal all his other bones and muscle fibers. As he cringed from the horrible pain, their eyes met. Oh, she's here now. The girl. It's not Addie. The girl. The one he'd exchanged gazes with amongst the crowd. At the time, she'd been wearing flimsy black clothes. Kia, yeah, that's right. I heard your name. Why does that smile seem so horribly bright? Inner voices? Say what now? Oh, is this like a minigame? I don't know. Anyway, I think it's a good time to end off here. That was pretty long. I was pretty invested, so that was a pretty long first episode. Let me save right here, and we will end off here. This seems pretty stable, so yeah, no.